Hello, welcome back to Just a Podcast. I am Just a Kyle. I never get tired of doing that. It's kind of fun. So today's episode is going to be a little bit of an experiment. Not like in the weird way our director is like our film is very experimental. It's just this new telling. Yeah, no, it's a little bit of background. I've told you guys this before. I listened to the Bumblekast, and I mentioned this a little bit in our group chat, but for a little bit more context, in case I haven't talked about it, Ian Flynn, well, I mean, you guys know this. He's the main writer for the Sonic comic, and recently Sonic Frontiers, and I think he did the script for Shadow Generations as well. But anyways, so he has a podcast where he would answer questions, and like 90% of it was Sonic related. The rest of it was just like people asking random questions that they would ask anybody. And then other stuff was like his own personal projects, which it was pretty interesting. I mean, I have my own feelings about some of like the way he does Sonic, but that's neither here nor there. Well, I mean, maybe it is. We'll get into that. But recently, he had said that in 2025 he was gonna have to change the format of the Bumblecast, where Sonic questions would have to be vetted by Sega, or like a representative. And it's still not clear as to why. I mean, the main reason he gave, it kind of made it sound like he like his answers were getting taken out of context, and a big problem with that is, and I understand this is, a lot of people would take his answers as like the word of God. And he would have to go onto it on the record a lot of times and be like, "Look, I'm not an official Sega spokesperson. This is just my interpretation of the characters." And oftentimes he said, like, "I'm just a fan. I got the dream job," which, good for him. And so, like, just kind of as a funny, I submitted a question which will probably come out this month. Well, we're in January now, but whenever they have the co-host said that my question was pushed to January because it's not Sonic related. But I had asked, I was like, well, I mean, and I said this more respectful than I'm going to say it now. I said it more in like a joking way, but also like kind of serious. If, he can't answer Sonic questions anymore, and also like a lot of questions, he just kind of met with that banner of, I can't talk about it, or you're going to have to wait for Lost Hedgehog Tales, which, if you don't know, Lost Hedgehog Tales was, well, okay, no, I'll go to that. I'll go into that in a little bit. But basically, two things that basically means I can't answer that question, or I'm not going to answer that question. And a lot of people really want closure with a lot of the things they're asking about that he can't talk about. So, where does that leave us? And basically, I posed like, well, if you can't talk about it, and what's stopping us from just opening up the master Q&A list and recording ourselves answering with our own headcanon? I mean, he said himself several times, and like, I hate to do this because it's kind of like the whole, when someone like criticizes him or brings up a question that like he's not comfortable with, he just kind of shuts down and does the whole like, well, why does anything matter? And it's like, dude, look, I doubt it was mean spirited, but whatever. So I didn't want to. I tried not to word it like that, but maybe it'll come off like that, and I hope it doesn't. But again, I worded this way more respectfully than I'm saying now. But basically, I was like, well, if he's just a fan like the rest of us, he just gets paid more. So, I don't know if that crosses any lines or anything, especially if he's not going to answer those questions anymore. And a lot of people, I mean, there's already people who have dedicated themselves to continuing that Archie line anyway of the Archie comics. So, like for questions like Lost Hedgehog Tales, I feel like anybody's headcanon is pretty much like, because that series is never going to conclude, and it was canceled, so we're never getting a proper ending to it. Sega took the license, gave it to IDW, and that's its own topic, which we'll go into another day. But yeah, no, I don't. So I don't know. Basically, part of me, well, one, I mean, you guys know this. I make up all kinds of lore all the time for tabletop. Or whatever else I'm doing. And eventually, we've talked about, like, Sonic is sort of canon in that story, so, what's, why does canon even matter no, sorry, that's the wrong way to phrase that. canon shouldn't be a huge problem with Sonic because Sonic is its very own. And Angel and I have talked about this, and maybe we'll talk about it again if he comes on. But Sonic is a very different beast when it comes to canon. You have so many different people working on it, so of course the story's not going to be one cohesive line. Zelda had the same problem. People wanted a canon story, but uh, we didn't. Sorry, they didn't at Nintendo. Were like, no, it's. I mean, we've been doing this for 30 years, and we've had so many different people working on these games that okay, let's just make a timeline. And look, no one's happy with it. And I think it's the same thing with Sonic. So I was like, well, why don't, with fan fiction becoming so much more accepted, and less smutty. I mean, usually, there's still smut out there, but my point being, um, yeah. So basically, the main point is I decided just to try this out. We'll see what happens. If they get mad, they could tell me like, "Hey, don't do that." But we'll see. I'm just gonna take some questions, and I know you guys like doing Q&A with me anyway. So, I've just decided to take some questions and put them into a spreadsheet and go through and answer them. So now here's where we get into Tommy, don't worry. Your episode is your episode is next because I think I'm gonna have to keep these two things separate, which I'll explain in a moment. But first, now I could explain what the Lost Hedgehog Tales is. So like I've said before, the Archie Sonic comic book was canceled, and people, as soon as he started doing his Q&A, the Bumblekast, I believe it was Bumblekast before, or maybe it was like his own channel. But anyways, it eventually became Bumblekast, and people asked, "Hey, what were your plans for this, or what was going to happen here, this issue, or what was going to happen with this character?" And he would answer some of them, and other stuff he would say like, "Oh, I'm working on this project called Lost Hedgehog Tales," which goes into that. However, and this is the thing that bothers a lot of people is he hasn't finished it, which I understand why. And the reason is, according to him, is there's just a lot of extenuating circumstances that he won't go into. And he's like, well, I don't understand them and I won't go into them. And I'm like, okay, sure. If you don't know what it is, that's fine. But I think just the way he is about like keeping secrets in general, it's a lot of people, myself included, are kind of like, I mean, well, yeah, calling BS basically. And it's not so much that no, he doesn't want to do it. It's that he's waiting for Ken Penders to kick the bucket, I'm sure, or to lose his lawsuit or whatever. I'm sure that's not it, but that's like the prevailing theory that I've seen with a lot of people is like, yeah, you're just afraid Ken's going to sue you. Which, if you don't know who Ken Penders is, there's plenty of lore out there on the internet, and this video will be 3 hours long if I went into that. But maybe that'll be one where if we're all together, I'll talk about that. So basically, that's Lost Hedgehog Tales. It hasn't come out yet. I don't know if it ever will. I mean, sure, maybe he's just gonna stop caring, or maybe he's being too paranoid. I don't know. Again, if you go in the master sheet and look up the questions for him, like there's timestamps to different episodes where he talks more about it. But again, usually it's there's circumstances I can't talk about it. I won't talk about it. It's coming, I promise. And and I think that's why sometimes I get suspicious, is because it's been the same answer over and over again. So much so that it's like, okay, that's so rehearsed. And I don't know if it's because he gets asked it all the time and he's tired of it, which again, I get it. He's human. I get questions I'm tired of, like just from people in general. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I think the dude needs to retire from Sonic. It's made him really grumpy, but I don't know. Anyways, so what this little project is going to be is I have this spreadsheet of questions like I'm going to answer. I've got 20 of them. We'll do 20 per episode, and we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, like I'm flying under the radar. I make this for like just you guys, so I don't think it matters. But yeah, I mean, let's just have fun with it. So these things they're tagged with one of them is I called it Found Hedgehog Tales, which is what I think would happen, like in that canon. And then there's Kyle Prime, which Kyle Prime it's just a joke. When I joined, I mean, well, Connor, you and I have joked about it, like like the Council of Kyles, but what it was is when I had to join their Discord to get my episode recording sent to me. So because I got a Q&A episode where he answered like 10 of my questions, which was really cool. It was really fun. And then uh oh, what was it? So I had to join the Discord, and people know this. Like the co-host of that show's name is also Kyle, and I use the Just a Kyle thing pretty much everywhere. So everyone's like, "Whoa, another Kyle!" And people just kind of started joking that I'm like Kyle Prime or the Anchor Kyle or whatever, which was really funny because I joked about like I didn't say like I'm here to usurp Kyle, but I did joke like, oh, starting a Kyle war, something like that, and people just joked that I was because I was around more often, I guess. I don't know, but it was funny. So Kyle Prime, the questions that are tagged with Kyle Prime are basically what if scenarios, like what if I was in charge, what if I was writing whatever, and what if I had been in charge from the beginning of, and that kind of ties into the episode I was talking about with you, Tommy, was what would I've done differently, and we'll get to that later, but for the most part, it's just going to be if I was the one writing, what would I do? And then Found Hedgehog Tales is going to be what do I think was going to happen? And there's a little bit of crossover between here and there, but I'll try and address it as we go. Well, okay, more accurately, Kyle Prime will also be like my own opinion and like my own headcanon, basically. So it's a mixture of both. It's like my own headcanon mixed with like in a perfect world where for me, where I was in charge of this story, how would I have done it? So it's a bit of both. But here, let's just get into it and you'll see as we go on. But first question comes from Connor. And it says, what Sonic games do you feel like don't get appreciated? What Sonic games do you feel don't get appreciated enough, and why? Are there other games you compare them to that get similarly underappreciated? Yeah. So one, it's a lot less as it's happened, it's happened a lot less as time has gone on. But Sonic and the Black Knight is recently. A lot of people are kind of they're really liking that now. Now that well, okay, yeah, here. So I think I've talked about this a little bit, but Sonic's I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm reading the IDW Sonic comics, and there was a certain page or issue or whatever where Sonic met a character, and he revealed a little bit of his philosophy on something, and that didn't sit well with a lot of people. They're like, "Oh, come on!" But let's be honest, Sonic has kind of had a bit of an identity crisis since his inception, like in the 90s, because nobody knew what it wanted to be. America had their own canon, Japan had their own canon, and I think that a lot of people are people call Sonic and the Black Knight like the perfect Sonic, like peak Sonic or whatever for newspeak. So that would have been my answer probably like a month ago, or maybe even a few months to a year. I would have said Sonic and the Black Knight, but I realized a lot of people are really appreciating that. To try and answer your question, I feel like, and I know this is a real hot take, but Sonic Chronicles, and I know that was a huge part of like the Ken Penders lawsuit, but it opened up a lot of lore to like the cosmology of Sonic in general, which I always think is really cool. Like you have the Twilight Cage, which again, a lot of it's super similar to the comic, but it made it a little more like cleaned up for a game. And it was an RPG that was on the DS. And I think you could play as like, oh gosh, who was it? Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Rouge, Cream, Big, Shadow, Omega, and Eggman. So Sonic, basically everyone in Sonic Heroes except for Team Chaotix and then Eggman. And you went through, it was just an RPG. You went through and you had like battles and you leveled up your characters and stuff like that. But they had these really cool alien races that I would love to come back to. And I've seen there's a lot of cool, there's an artist I follow that had this really cool idea for these aliens in the Twilight Cage, what they look like now. And they're based off the Sonic Colors planets. So yeah, I would say, yeah, because like a lot of other ones get a lot of attention. So I'd say like Sonic Chronicles for what it tried to do. And then any other games that I compared to them, the Golden Sun series. That's another RPG series, but they're another one of my favorites. Camelot Software Planning, they're they're the developers that made the games. They make a lot of really cool ones. They've recently been doing a lot of Mario Tennis. They constantly they partner with Mario a lot to do the tennis games, but they're so interesting. They go hard in the paint, as you often say. And I would love to see more Camelot games. I think the last Golden Sun, the third one, left off on a cliffhanger, and that was back in like 2012 or 13. It was a long time ago. Um, so yeah, I think that's my take on that. But the next question is a Kyle Prime question, and it basically, I mean, this is found Hedgehog Tales, but I kind of changed it to a little bit to my headcanon because here's some changes I would have made. It's, what were your plans for Sonic the Hedgehog 300 and Sonic Universe 100, which were huge milestone issues for the comic. Um, I so Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's assume there was no reboot in Archie, and so Sonic and Sonic Universe wouldn't have had to change their canon and do other stuff. Which again, I'm fine with the reboot, but we'll probably get into that into a future episode where we'll talk specifically on the comic. But were it up to me, I would have had Sally. So for those of you who don't know, there was the Freedom Fighters, and maybe if I have you guys on, we could talk more about this. So some of these questions might not make sense, so for that I apologize. There was a character who got turned into a robot, and it was like a huge, like, whoa, my gosh, what's gonna happen? And so they were trying to rescue her, but then the comic had to reboot. So let's assume there was no reboot. I actually would have had Sally die. I would have had her sacrifice herself to stop Eggman, and then so leading up to issue 300, we would have had like the Ixis resurgence, which again, another thing we'll get into. And then when we hit 300, I would have had Eggman Nega be revealed as the main villain in both Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Universe. So you have like some of his other forces on the universe side, where like the side stories are dealing with that, and then they all kind of converge in 300 and 100, and it's like, oh gosh, what's happening? And we reveal that it's this, and he's attacking from his zone, which, because right now the zone cops, which are sort of like the Nova Corps, the Green Lanterns, and Sonic that watch over the multiverse, are at war with him currently. And I think it would have been really cool if like the final reels, like Warp Ring opens and he steps through, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, the zone cops have been decimated, and then that would have been the reveal. Hard stop, and then we go to that with the next series. Okay, next question is, what would a Sonic and Mario with Eggman and Bowser crossover be like? Okay, so this one's fun. I know a lot of people like the Mario Sonic crossover thing because they're similar. They're both powerhouses of their company. They're the mascots. If it were up to me, I would say like Eggman and Bowser. Like Eggman just runs into Bowser. Somehow, dimensions cross, whatever. And I think that no, I don't want to. Okay. I was going to give like a really Ian Flynn answer, but I don't want to. I would say, because, you have like this weird, I don't know if it's magic or what, but Bowser's machines in Mario are really weird. Like his airship, it's just a bunch of floating logs. Well, usually, I know now it's ships, but I've always kind of wondered, like, I mean, now it's propellers, but back then they used to just float across the screen. And it would be really cool if, Eggman's like, how do you get this to work? And Bowser's like, how do you get, like, why do you have so many robots? Like, what's that about? Like, you don't have minions? And he's like, well, the robots are my minions, So I think it'd be cool if they would team up, because it's like, hey, I have this plumber I really can't stand, and Eggman's like, I have this hedgehog I can't stand, and I think they would team up, and it'd be really cool to see like either like Mecha Bowser or like Mecha Kooplings or whatever, and then Bowser like using like Buzzy Beetles teaming up with like the little Motobugs and junk like that. It would just be cool to see their forces team up to try and take out Sonic and Mario, and then like Bowser or Eggman gets his hands on a Power Star. Bowser can go like super with the Chaos Emeralds or something like that. It would just be really cool to see that play out. Next question. What are your thoughts on Infinite? So Infinite is one of the main antagonists of Sonic Forces, and I don't know if I've ever gone on record saying this, but I really like Infinite just as a concept. I don't know, like his mask is cool, but I love, sorry, I mumbled. His mask is really cool, but I really like his shoes for some reason. They're like these cool little wizard shoes. There was a tie-in comic for Sonic Forces where it was Infinite part of the Jackal Squad, and I actually love that whole setup there. Like, they're just a really interesting group of characters that we only see for like 4 pages. And basically they were raiding Eggman's bases, and he had like this cool like red scimitar that they didn't. I think he was supposed to have it in the games, but they ended up cutting it or something like that. But it was really cool because I would have loved to have seen him use that and kind of bring back the Black Knight vibes. But more than that, it would have been really cool to see. It would have been really cool to see like the rest of Jackal Squad do other stuff. But yeah, like my general feelings on Infinite is I think he's a cool character that I really hope that we see more of in the future. Next question. Do you believe that the legal dispute between Ken Penders and Archie Comics affected Archie Comics' relationships with Sega? Yeah, 100%. And this is funny because this is one of those questions that Ian just won't touch. Which I mean, I get it. You don't want to ruin your job, but you know, I'm not paid by Sega, so I could say this. Yeah, no, 100%. I think that the reason the comic is the way it is now, like with IDW, and why Ian has to be the way he has to be is because, like that whole lawsuit just showed one how badly like comic artists are treated in general, and two how how Archie really mishandled that whole situation. But the problem is so they reached a settlement. And people have finally been putting up the documents, but there's like a lot of discourse on this because it's, oh man, Ken won, but he didn't necessarily win. And people argue about this all the time because American copyright law is not cut and dry. And I know I'm rambling, but basically, no, okay, we'll go into this another time because, like I said, this will be 3 hours long if I get into the whole Ken thing. But yeah, I definitely think that it affected. I think that's why they lost the license. Is probably just Sega's like, no, we're not doing this again. We're going to another company and we're setting better guidelines and all that jazz. Because it had been like since 1992 to 2017 was when Archie lost the license. So I think that definitely, and Ken wrote for a majority of that. So I think that yeah, it was just a huge like on Sega's part. They were like, no, we're not doing this. So, I mean, it sucks because, like I said, there's a lot of the stories we'll never see an end to now because of it, but I've been reading IDW and I like it a lot more in a lot of ways, but I don't know, I'm still early on in it, but we'll see. Next question is a Kyle Prime question. How did Sigma gain mastery over the Genesis portal so quickly? So a little background is there was a crossover, well, there are two crossovers, one with Sonic and Mega Man, and another one with Sonic and Mega Man X, where there were these portals opening up all over reality, and Sigma used them to... Sigma is the main bad guy from Sonic X, for most of them. Actually, maybe all of them. I could be wrong. I haven't played 7 or 8. But, anyways. So, if, again, like... I know they don't really touch on it. It's just kind of like, I have these portals, I'm bringing everyone here, Battle World. I would have really liked to see... And here's how I would do it: is Sigma would have like had Mega Man's copying data as well, because he would have found a way to replicate that. And then when he touched a Genesis portal or came into contact with one in some way, shape, or form, he would have copied their either magic or technology or whatever it's supposed to be, and just added that to his matrix of, yeah, I could do this now, and just immediately mastered it, and used that to fulfill his conquest. But yeah, I'll have to. I kind of want to reread it and see if like maybe I'll change my mind on that. But that's my answer for now. Is like he just Mega Man copied it and was like, "Yep, I'm using it like this now." Because I think it'd be really cool to see another character that could do that on the bad side. Next question is a found Hedgehog Tales question. What was the plans for Cassia and Clove, and what was Bunny's new backstory going to be? So Cassia and Clove were a couple of Eggman's bosses. They were like these deer Mobians. One of whom was roboticized. I don't remember who. I should have looked this up, but because I mean I have the comic. I should just go and read them. But one of whom had a disease, and so they were also like the leaders of, or they convinced their like local area to follow Eggman and join the Empire. But when you join the Empire, you have to get legionized, which is where you get a lot of mechanization, but Eggman puts bombs in them to make sure you don't step out of line. So one of them had a disease, and the only way to save her was through, because it was originally developed as a medical technique, but then Eggman's like, I'm going to use this as a power of control. Eggman's like way more evil in the comics, usually. I mean, that might be different now, we'll see, but, yeah, so like that's the background on them, is one of them was mechanized, the other wasn't, but they were kind of, I mean, the plan for on my end, like what I think would have happened is I think they probably would have eventually. I think they would have just left Eggman. I think they would have found somebody who. Because I think. Oh, this is post reboot, so it's a different story. Shoot. Yeah, no, I definitely think they would have left the Empire, but I think it would have been in a way that let them. They would have basically tried to like ask Sonic and his friends for help, like, "Hey, can you fix my sister? Like, can we get the Eggman bombs out of here?" And they would have tried to do something like that. I don't know if they would have lost her. I don't know what the guidelines were for the story by then because I don't know. They were pretty. They played pretty fast and loose with killing off characters in the old ones. I mean, granted, only like 4 or 5 characters died in the series run, but they were like, no, they're dead, they're gone. So I could see them going one of two ways with this. Like, yeah, happy ending. We'll fix her, and then they're gonna help the freedom fighters fight Eggman, or she would have gotten captured, or maybe even just stayed evil and like the sisters would have split up. I don't know. It could go either one of those ways. And then what was Bunny's new backstory going to be? So Bunny was one of the freedom fighters from the early cartoon, and then the comic adapted her into the show, or sorry, into the comic. And then she had this whole long story with her. What? Oh no, they ended up getting married. This character Antoine, who was like this, I think he was a fox or a squirrel. I don't remember. I think he was a fox, but he was French. I hated him. Up until like the new ones, he was pretty cool. She was originally like partially roboticized or something, and her story changed a lot because like she was always going through something. But I hope no one else sees this. They're gonna be like, that's not true. But in the new comic, they roboticized. They had her be partially mechanized again. So she has like this Mega Man laser cannon and like jet boots and stuff. It's a cool idea. I probably would have. I mean, I don't know if her old backstory was off limits because I don't know who worked on it, but it kind of seemed like they were sort of they didn't really say anything about it, but it kind of seemed like maybe she was. It was probably the same thing, or maybe she was just from somewhere else. But I think it was basically like her parents were like traitors or something, and they got Eggman in power. Because apparently some of the old stories were still semi-canon, but they just changed a lot of events to get rid of characters they couldn't use anymore. I think that, yeah, I think it was probably going to be the same, if we're being honest. I don't think it was going to be, and I don't know. I mean, he's answered this before. Maybe he didn't. I didn't check. But I think that it probably would have stayed mostly the same, but just like a little more sterilized, if that makes sense. Next question is a Kyle Prime question. Because of the classic modern split, is IDW Sonic's earliest event Sonic Adventure? So, Sonic has this thing where they've split classic Sonic and modern Sonic into 2 separate timelines. I don't know if they've since gone back on this, but from what I understand is there's like there was originally like an indescript amount of time between the end of classic Sonic and Sonic Adventure, which is the beginning of the modern era. But that begs the question, so what was Sonic's childhood like? And in my head, I think it's the classic Sonic. So were I to be the one to sort of make this cohesive, I'd say, no, Sonic, like classic Sonic is just him as a kid, or a younger kid. So let's say like, classic Sonic, he's like anywhere from 8 to 10. And then modern Sonic he's like 13 to 15 or 16. Or yeah, like 13 to 15. I know they got rid of ages because they kind of wanted to. So apparently it was from a marketing standpoint, was because they wanted to make sure that they wanted him to seem older for younger kids, because like kids kind of look up to teenagers, and then they wanted him to seem younger for older people to be like, oh, he's supposed to be like, carefree and like a kid, and explains his behavior, which yeah, I'm totally fine with. I mean, I'm not saying hard, like, set in stone, these are the rules, but that's how I would do it. Would just be like, that's his early childhood, and we'd follow some of the old games. Because, it is one cohesive story from the first 3, and then Sonic CD could fit in really anywhere in there. I think Sonic Origins, like, put all the stories in one. And I think I would end it with Mania or Superstars, one or the other, whichever. This one with Trip, and I think... thing. But yeah, no, I wouldn't do it that way. I would just say like no, like his earliest adventure is Sonic the Hedgehog. Um, and I think that's part of the fun is it all being part of one story. Because I think with Sonic, you can kind of get away with that. It's been because there wasn't really it's been there hasn't been a lot of story. I mean, they always call back to stuff in other games, so like why not make it part of the canon? Yeah, I'd say first like beginning of IDW, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, next question is from Connor. Are there any significant changes you'd make to the live action Sonic movies? Okay, that's a really good question. Yes and no. I mean, I love the movies. I think they're great. Yeah, I can't really. No, okay, yeah. So like anything that I would change is like small, like really nitpicky stuff. But that'd be Connor. You and I have talked about this. Is I would put more game music in the movies. It would just be fun to see like little tunes here and there. Um, I know they have like that piano mix of Green Hills that they use, which is I like that a lot. And they threw like a lot of remixes of Live and Learn in Sonic 3. So more of that. Also, I would have had it would have been interesting. I would have liked to have seen Eggman's tech be a little more Eggman-y. Because I mean, starting off with the drones in one is fine. That's cool because it's like yeah, a government scientist. He's got like really like tactical technology. But he gets really weird from the Mushroom Planet in 2. So I think it would have been cool, like when Knuckles picks him up, is if he picks up a little bit of alien technology himself and just made his badniks just all kinds of crazy. Um, and then, which I mean, he kind of does. He has like the Hornet ones in 2, and then like the weird egg satellite. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen some more, just like some weird designs. Because it's very, and I know a lot of people have this problem with Hollywood in general is things are usually just like this weird sterilized version, but you know, I get it. Special effects are expensive, and most of it's already going to the little nermies walking around. And then I would have made 3 just a little bit longer, because I would have liked to have seen, shoot, what was it? I mean, I love 3. 3 is probably, um, I mean, between that and 2, like it was such a good movie. Um, I don't know. Actually, I would have made 3 just a little bit longer, just to get like a little bit more, like just to see some more of Shadow. Because like I mean, there was a lot of Shadow, but it just would have been cool to see him do more, like just kind of getting used to Earth and seeing stuff. But I don't know, maybe they'll do it in a new movie. So I'll leave 3 alone. But yeah, like music and then Eggman technology. That's probably like the only real change I would make there. We're about the halfway mark, so I'm gonna take a little break. I'll be back momentarily. Wow, that was really relaxing for me, and probably like 5 seconds for you guys. Okay. Next question is it's a Kyle Brown question. What intel did SPO have on Julie Sue and Saffron? So in one of the comic stories, SPO is revealed to be part of this ninja clan of chameleons, which I thought was super cool. And he was basically ordered to collect information on the freedom fighters and a bunch of other characters and report back to his clan just to keep them safe because they were like super hidden, which I thought was it was really interesting. But everybody got super suspicious, which you know I totally get that. You know you've been friends with this person for how many years now, and then come to find out that he's been spying on you the entire time for his clan. It's like, oh, dude, that's not cool. So they asked him to reveal the dirt that he had on everybody. And so it goes through this panel of what it's like, what do you have on us? You need to reveal it, and then we'll trust you again. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. So he goes down the list. But there were 2 other characters there that he didn't say anything about. Or maybe, I don't remember if they were actually there in that shot. No, I don't think they were. So he goes and he tells them all that, but these 2 characters weren't there. I think what he probably would have had. Oh wait, this is Kyle Prime. I can answer however I want. Ooh, what I would have done is I would have had like Julie Sue's cybernetics be not from the Legion. They would have been from like another, like either the Twilight Cage or another alien civilization, and it would have been cool to see her tie into like another story. Because she is very different from a lot of the other characters. I mean, yeah, she was part of that when she was a kid, but she ended up leaving and joining Knuckles and his team and stuff like that. So I definitely would have made it be, I would have made it be like some sort of other technology that tied into a further story, which would have been really cool. Maybe even like some of Eggman Nega's stuff, or like stolen stuff from the Zone Cops. That would have been fun. Um, Saffron, which was another bee like Charmy. I think it would have been cool if like her parents are were like traitors, and there was like another Eggman Empire Legion that were because they were like part of the Golden Hive colony or something like that. It would have been cool if she was part of like her parents were like evil Eggman bees or something. Just to make her, because she didn't really get to do a lot, so it would have been cool to have her do a little more in the story. The next question is a found Hedgehog Tales question, and was the Super Genesis wave the intended resolution to the unresolved plot points pre-reboot? And uh, I think Ian has answered this, but I think, or maybe he hasn't. I don't remember. But I don't. I mean, I don't think so. I think it was. I think they had plans. I mean, obviously, they did have plans going forward. That's like what the whole Lost Hedgehog Tales thing is about. But I think that they would have done something. I mean, because basically, it's like we're doing a crossover. Um, Everything would have gone back to normal, but basically because they were rebooting it, they had the ending of that Mega Man crossover corrupt their reality, and that's why everything is different. And then they're like, oh yeah, it's permanent, you can't go back. And which I thought was kind of a bad way to do it. I really wish they would have just been upfront and said like, hey, listen, we got a lot going on, we have to reboot. um because instead they kind of string you along saying so basically the beginning of the reboot was based on Sonic Unleashed, which it was a really cool story. But they ended up actually the whole section before they ended up canceling it was based on Sonic Unleashed. And they start out with the first few issues being like, okay, so we put the world back together, then we can get our world back. And then they figure out, no, this is actually the way the world is now, and this is just a threat we have to fight, which was a huge bummer because a lot of people are like, oh, like we're like 20 years of comics are just done, like we can't touch that anymore. And that's why people get so mad at Penders, is because they blame him for single-handedly ruining the Sonic comic. And there's a lot of truth to that, but there's also a lot of that on Archie's part. The agreement again. It's a whole thing. We'll do an episode. I think that it wasn't a resolution. It was just kind of like a panic button, and I know they'll never really say it. It was just kind of like, oh, we were forced to do it. I'm like, no, it was you guys panicked because you didn't want to use his characters. So because this is a short enough. Basically, the agreement they came to was, you can keep using his characters. He just gets final creative say on it. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. Let's reboot. And so I think that. So yes and no. Yes, it was the intended resolution. No, it wasn't a good one because it was just really like panic button. Okay, next question is a Kyle Prime question. Are the Days of Fury and their bizarre weather patterns really over with? It makes for a pretty overt parallel to global warming in real life, but I think it would still come up from time to time plot-wise. The Days of Fury was like this magical war between the ancient echidnas of the city of Albion and these, what they're called, Ixis wizards, it's really cool. It's like elemental magic in Sonic. So basically what happened was, because it's elemental magic, a lot of weather got all like, and they talked about like why there's so many different things now. I mean, if it were me writing, no, I don't think they'd be over with it all. I don't, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. Yes, but I think that's why things would be different now. So I think that would be why you have Pumpkin Hill. I think they would have been made into like golems for that battle, or that's why you have Windy Valley, is because it changed the landscape. So in a way, like the weird weather is over, but like the effects are still there, because you basically have these Avatar wizards fighting like the clones, So I would think the scars are definitely still left there, but it's I think it would still be I think it would still be the effects would still be felt. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. Okay, next question. What was the one thing? Oh, another Kyle Prime question. What was the one thing you wanted to do most in Archieverse that you can't do now? Well, that's where Tommy's episode comes in. So the next episode will be, I mean, yeah, there'll be Q&A, but I'm gonna do what I told Tommy is, like rebooting and like kind of rewriting my version of like Archie canon, and because we've hinted at this in like Sacred Force and stuff like that, so I want to give you guys an overview. That'll be a lore cast, if you will, and I will reach out to you guys in the group chat, but definitely that will be one that I want you guys all on, and that'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, one thing is redo all of it to make it a little more cohesive. Next question is from Connor. What characters are you most hoping to see in the live action Sonic movies, and how would you like them to show up? So yeah, dude, okay, so we've talked about this a lot, but yeah, Silver for sure. Silver's my boy. I was kind of okay, so I mean, no, it's just for you guys. You guys have all seen Sonic. So, spoilers for Sonic 3, skip ahead 30 seconds. Instead of Amy, I think it would have been, I mean, I love Amy, or I think that we need more girl characters. I think it would have been cool to see, like, Amy and Blaze. I really wanted Silver to hop out of the ring and be like, I'm Silver, and my future's in trouble. And, but I'm fine with the way they did it. I think if they do it in, like, 4 or 5, that's fine, too. I would love for Silver to show up. I would love for him to be like part of like him. I want them to bring Blaze back from being the future. I know she kind of got retconned into the Soul Emeralds in that dimension because of how it ended in Sonic 06. But you know the movies can kind of do whatever they want to. They changed the backstory of a lot of characters. So let's go crazy. I'd love to see like I mean the Chaotix for sure, and the Chaotix are already canon because they did a comic tie-in and they're just hanging out at a casino. You see SBO and Vector. I'm like, yes. So they're out there somewhere just being the Chaotix. I'm hoping that I wouldn't mind if like characters just start showing up because at the end of 3, you see well, okay, all right. Again, if someone sees this and they haven't seen Sonic 3, yeah, whatever. I'll just tag this video with spoilers. So at the end when the arc blows up, they have like this cool like weird nebula in the sky. I wonder if maybe that's how Amy got to the planet because we don't explain like how did she get here. Again, we gotta wait 3 years for the movie. So, well, no, 2 years for the movie. So, I mean they'll explain it then, but ideally, I think it would be really cool if the arc like I don't want to say ripped open space-time, but like, you know, kind of messed with some like time stability because it's got chaos energy. That's what powers it. So it'd be really cool if that's how all the new Nermies are getting to the planet is there's like portals opening up, and I think that'd be cool if that messes with like the stability of stuff, and that's why Silver shows up. And I think it'd be hilarious if one day Big is just fishing and like falls asleep and like slumps into a portal and wakes up at just another pond and it's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna fish here now. And then we just kind of see him like randomly and everyone's like, what are you? It would be so much fun. Or maybe he's just living with like some dude in Japan just fishing out there. And then like other characters. So okay, this is like my pitch. I would love to bring back, and this kind of ties into that first question, I would love to bring back the aliens from the Twilight Cage. That would be so cool if like that's where that conflict takes place that they're building up to. I mean, they're kind of going like a Sonic Heroes route. I got a lot of Sonic Heroes vibes in 3, but I would love to see this battle take place in the Twilight Cage with the oh my gosh, I don't remember the like the Voxai and the oh shoot, Korai. Anyways, there's these really cool aliens. If you get a chance, like look them up. They're awesome. I want to see them. So yeah, I mean, I know that's a really long way of saying it, but yeah, a lot of characters, and I would love to see it just explode into this really big multiverse battle. Not multiverse battle, but like space battle. That'd be really cool. Yeah, I need to stop because I'm gonna keep going. Like I could go on forever with that one. Next question: what are your favorite movie genres, and what do you love most about them? So I love Godzilla movies. Those are some of my favorite. And I think it's just because I love seeing like what the different ways they handle practical and special effects, especially, and now it's just cool seeing how they try to justify like the world reacting to monsters the way they do. So like, I'm not a big fan of the MonsterVerse, but I like a lot of what they're doing with it. And like I think it's a good idea, and I just like I like seeing how they keep upping the ante with how they combat these monsters. And sometimes it's like, yeah, that's really believable, and other times it's like, what made you think that was gonna work? But yeah, so like Godzilla -1, that was really cool. It was really cool seeing um like because it takes place in like the 50s. Um it was really cool seeing them figure out a way to battle Godzilla, and they have to come up with this crazy like science doohickey using technology from the 50s, which, you know, at the time they're like, this is the most advanced thing we have. But it's so funny looking back now and looking at like how they handle movies in the future. And I just love seeing how they just make the world advance because of the monsters they're fighting. And I love seeing the new monster designs, and I love the crazy ancient lore they bring in when it's like, oh yeah, these monsters have been around forever, and like here's a Mothra temple in the middle of the ocean, and here's this weird little fuzzy wish making guy. So yeah, like kaiju movies, I love them. Okay, next question. If you were to adapt Team Sonic Racing into the comics, what would it be like? And I think I should have tagged this one Kyle Prime, and I forgot to, so I'm sorry about that. But either comic, yeah. Because I mean, we've done crossovers. They've done crossovers before. They had the ones with Mega Man, and then the one with X. They also brought in a bunch of other Sega characters. It would be really cool to see them have to, like, sort of like Nitrous Oxide from Crash Team Racing. It's like bad guy shows up and it's like, you're gonna have to beat me in a race, and everyone's kind of like, really, a race? Okay. And Sonic's like, well, I could just run, and then he's like, no, you got to use cars. Well, why? Well, because I said so. You know, and then he's just like, okay, whatever. You know, it would be funny like if they just lean into it not making sense. Okay, next question. What games do you keep coming back to despite your backlog? This is a good question because I talk about this a lot. How there's a lot of video games I just haven't played because, and then the list just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But I always come back to Kirby. I don't know what it is. It's just I love Kirby. Kirby, like, I know this has been a lot of Sonic questions, but I've said before, I love Sonic and Kirby like the way you love your children. Like, you don't have a favorite, but one just happens to spend more time with you than the other. And so I'll always come back to a Kirby game. Like, sometimes I'll pop in Star Allies, Forgotten Land, even though it's like the newest one. I still just like other stuff comes out, and I'm like, oh, I really want to play some Kirby. I think I have Superstar Ultra on the... Oh, no, I don't think I do. But I have Robobot and Triple Deluxe, and I love those. So I'll always make time for Kirby. Okay, next question is from Angel. What powers do you like, or what powers would you like each of the Chaos Emeralds to have? Okay, so I'm going to go through all 7 of them. They actually did give them powers in Origins, and I thought that was a really cool idea. And it works for a video game, but like if I were to, like, in lore, have to give them powers, I would do it like this. I have a, you know what, I have a thing around here I wrote down of like something, but anyways, I would want them to like have command over like an essence, basically. So you have, because like in Sonic Heroes you have like speed, fly, and power. I would like to kind of double down on that with the emeralds. So you have like the cyan emerald that's like psychic, so like that silver is really tied to it because you could tie it in with the characters as well. Green would be no, I'm sorry, not green. Red. I think red would be chaos. That would be super cool. I mean, I know they're the chaos emeralds, but like I would like, it'd be cool to have a character sort of exemplify what that emerald is about. So you have like blue. I would keep blue being the copy one because I just think that's really cool. And I would. Oh, sorry. Well, I mean, there is no order. It's just like, yeah. So yeah, cyan would like give you like psychokinesis, or be representative of that, and like people like when you touch it, you just kind of, that's the power you align with. Yeah, like I said, blue. I like the idea of you making copies of yourself. That's just really cool. I know it's like, well, what about Sonic? Why doesn't it just make you fast? It's like, well, I mean, they all can, or they. No, sorry, they don't. Shoot. Well, yeah, because like they don't really have powers in and of itself, except for like in the comics, they kind of just go into like Eggman just uses them to power stuff. But yeah, okay. So I think, Kind of like the wisps too. I like how the wisps all give you powers based on colors. I don't want to just copy the wisps though. So this is kind of a tough one. Let me think for a second. Yeah, you know what? I gotta find my. Okay, I'm gonna find that document. Okay, so I didn't find the document, but I did find the notes pertaining to what the document was about, and there were a couple little things in there. Yeah, it's what I was saying. It was I wanted them to be uh, basically sort of like domains in Daggerheart, where they, like I said, they bestowed some sort of power, but more like as opposed to. So I was incorrect. The Cyan Emerald, it's not like it gives you psychic powers as much as it represents like mind. So basically they would be the same thing, and they would give you. But I think I will go further and I'll say, yeah, maybe they can give you powers attached to it. So like mind would make you psychic. Speed, like the blue one would make you fast. Or and I really like the cloning one though. I'll stick with blue being the cloning one. Um, maybe red makes you strong. Maybe the yellow one lets you fly. Maybe I would do that. Like I would say they all give you a specific power, sort of like they do in Origins. But like to give you specific ones, I'll just try and go through it. They're yeah, so like yellow will let you fly. Red makes you super strong. Um, green I think would be cool if it gave you like magic, sort of. Or no, was it? Oh shoot. Yeah, if it gave you like magic. I think purple would be cool if it did. If purple was like a spooky ghosty, or no, white was like spooky ghosty, and purple was like shoot, what is it? Uh, because green gives you magic. I don't remember. I just thought of it, but we'll make that its own thing. Like so, okay, I owe you a full answer, Angel. But yeah, that's basically what it is. Like they are they represent like a domain of power, but also bestow that power. And when I find that document fully, we'll go into that. But our last question is a Kyle Prime question. Back in the Archie Sonic comic series, there were four brides of four clans. This is like SBO's storyline. Bride of Rich Knights, the Bride of Constant Vigil, the Bride of Endless Reach, and actually, like I should probably describe what these actually are. The Bride of Rich Knights was a bat. The Bride of Constant Vigil was, or is the chameleon. The Bride of Endless Reach is a spider, and the Bride of Conquering Storm is a lynx. Um, and the question is like, who's good, who's bad, and like so basically, in that storyline, one of them actually joins one of them joins Eggman's empire and becomes like Robotus. Sorry, the Raiju clan, which is the Bride of Conquering Storm. She joins the Iron Queen, and then when Eggman takes over, she joins Eggman. And that was like there was a character that was tied to that clan and all that jazz. But at the beginning of that story, the Bride of Rich Knights is actually dead. I don't remember if the Iron Queen killed her or something else, but yeah, she's gone, and like now it's splintered into like these little bat clans. So the question is like, were any of them good or evil? So I think or good or bad, not necessarily like evil. Yeah, Bride of Conquering Storm. I don't think she was bad. I think she was definitely like just ambitious and played the like, oh, okay, Eggman's winning, so I'm gonna side with the winner. Endless Reach, like there was this web of fate basically. Not like in Spider-Man. Well, actually, yeah, like in Spider-Man. Um, oh my gosh, it's just like in Spider-Man. Yeah, she was this clan of like these spider ninjas, and she was the leader of the clan of these spider ninjas, and she basically could read the web, like this web, as if it was like a fortune telling type thing, but like a little more mystical than that. I think she was probably neutral because basically she acted in the best interest of like Destiny playing out the way that she believes the web tells her to. So she's probably, like if you were gonna put like a term on it, neutral. And then Like Constant Vigil, she seemed, so that's SBO's mom. She's a chameleon as well. Well, yeah, obviously. I think that she probably, her thing was like she kind of looked out on everybody. So I don't know if it's necessarily bad as much as it is paranoid. Because she would send out like all kinds of chameleons to go and spy on whatever, like infiltrate and spy on whatever community or kingdom or whatever. Like a gene stealer. No, I'm joking. Make it a Warhammer thing. Um, so I think that that's kind of what they were, and I probably would have kept it that way. Um, I wouldn't have changed anything except for the Bride of Rich Knights. I feel like they kind of had wasted potential with that. They didn't end up going anywhere with the Bat Clans like operating on their own. Um, it would have been really cool to see them sort of not necessarily like kind of forsaking their status as a clan and just kind of going under like a feudal like a shogun type thing where it's like you have these well oh sorry they were they ninjas? Yeah, they were ninjas. So it would have been cool to see them like under one ninja clan or even maybe adopting some sort of like samurai warrior thing. Because the thing with like, and I mean this might be a little dated, but in Sonic the eastern areas, so like the Dragon Kingdom and all that, they kind of lumped all of Asia together into one thing, which is, I mean, say what you will about that. um, so they kind of just took inspiration from anywhere that looked like remotely Asian, and so I think it would have been cool to maybe have one of the other clans splinter off, so they're not just all ninja clans. Would have been cool to have one. Sorry, I'm getting like ahead of myself. It was really just about like the characters' alignments. Um, so yeah, I think like I think the only one that was really bad that could be considered bad would be the like Conquering Storm, and that's just because she would like actively, basically she behaved like super selfishly just to keep herself in power. Um, but yeah, to kind of go into it, I would have, yeah, like I would keep it that way, but like make them, I'd probably make them like sky pirates because I think that would be sick. Um, and kind of make that part of her ambition is just to take over and have as much territory in that land as possible, and then kind of go back to the warring houses. Because I think the way they make it sound, and I kind of am on board with this, is it's a really fragile piece and it's constantly broken. And the only reason it was fixed this time is because this character Monkey Khan came in and was just like, listen, will you just like will you just ally under our rule, or not ally under our rule, but like stop fighting with the other clans and like support me being king of the free people. Like I'll leave you to do what you're doing as long as you don't hurt my people. And they all were like, sure, okay. We renounced the Iron Queen, you're good. But then when Eggman came in, we didn't end up seeing that character ever again, so we don't actually know like what happened. But yeah, definitely would have liked to see more of that, and I would have liked to continue like that story. It would have been like, even if in another Sonic universe, it would have been really cool. But yeah, so that's all the questions I have for this episode. I know I kind of rambled a lot in all of them, but like I said, we're still trying to figure out how this works. But yeah, guys, thank you for your questions, and I'm sorry if I couldn't answer them to your satisfaction. Like I said, just let me know, and I'll take another crack at it. But this was a lot of fun, and hopefully next time I can have you guys on here with me. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this one. It was fun answering these questions, and I will talk to you guys soon. Stay pimpin'.